In the heart of the ancient Mediterranean, a stage was set for a drama of unprecedented scale. The players? Two ambitious powers, each vying for control of this vital sea and the lands that bordered it. Two powers rose to dominate, their destinies intertwined, their ambitions on a collision course. These were Rome and Carthage, two titans of the ancient world. Rome, nestled on the Italian peninsula, a land of rolling hills and fertile valleys, grew from a small settlement into a republic, forged in the fires of discipline, its citizens transforming into hardened soldiers, masters of not only military might, but also of groundbreaking engineering, leaving their indelible mark on the world. Carthage, on the North African coast, a jewel of the Mediterranean, was a wealthy maritime empire, a hub of commerce and culture, its harbours teeming with ships from distant lands. Its power was built on the foundations of lucrative trade routes and a formidable navy, the undisputed master of the seas. Rome's strength lay in its legions, its unwavering discipline, and its relentless land conquests. Carthage's in its ships, its skilled sailors, and its vast commercial reach spanning the breadth of the Mediterranean. For a time, an uneasy peace reigned. They coexisted, Rome consolidating its power, uniting Italy under its banner, Carthage maintaining its naval dominance, ruling the sea and controlling rich islands like Sicily, a vital strategic asset. But the Mediterranean, vast as it was ultimately not big enough to contain both of their soaring ambitions. Their inevitable collision, a clash of titans, would soon erupt into one of history's most epic and brutal conflicts, a struggle for supremacy that would reshape the ancient world. This was more than just a war. This was a clash of civilizations, a republic of disciplined soldiers, masters of the land versus an empire of skilled sailors, rulers of the sea. Only one would emerge victorious, its culture, its values, its very existence secured. The other would be utterly destroyed, its legacy erased from the annals of history, its ruins left as a silent testament to its ambition and its ultimate failure. The rivalry between Rome and Carthage was one of the most significant conflicts in the ancient world. It was a clash of titans, a struggle for dominance that would shape the course of history. At the heart of this rivalry centered on Sicily, a strategically important island. Sicily was a strategic and fertile island, perfectly positioned between their expanding realms, making it a highly coveted prize for both powers. Carthage, a maritime power, saw Sicily as absolutely vital to maintaining and expanding its vast trade empire, which stretched across the Mediterranean. Rome, on the other hand, viewed Carthaginian control of Sicily as a direct and unacceptable threat to its own burgeoning power and ambitions. Treaties and diplomatic agreements managed to keep the peace between the two powers for a time, but these were fragile and ultimately unsustainable. Rome's ambitions grew exponentially, especially after its successful unification and domination of the Italian peninsula. The immediate spark that ignited the conflict was a local dispute in the Sicilian city of Messana. In this dispute, both Rome and Carthage saw an opportunity to assert their influence and intervened militarily. This intervention quickly escalated, transforming a localized crisis into a full-blown declaration of war between the two superpowers. This conflict was far more than just a simple territorial dispute over a valuable island. It represented a fundamental clash of worldviews, a collision of two distinct civilizations with vastly different values and aspirations. Carthage embodied the spirit of a commercial power driven by trade and economic prosperity, while Rome represented a conquering empire fueled by military expansion and territorial domination. In such a climate of fundamental disagreement, compromise proved to be utterly impossible. Deep-seated suspicion and mutual fear permeated the relationship between Rome and Carthage, poisoning any chance of peaceful resolution. The Romans, with their inherent distrust of foreigners, viewed the Carthaginians primarily as greedy and untrustworthy merchants, always seeking to exploit others for profit. Conversely, the Carthaginians saw the Romans as aggressive and uncouth barbarians, driven by a relentless thirst for conquest and destruction. With such deeply ingrained animosity and conflicting ambitions, the stage was irrevocably set for a brutal fight to the death, a struggle for survival. The ensuing Punic Wars would ultimately determine the fate of the entire Mediterranean world, reshaping the balance of power for centuries to come. The Punic Wars unfolded in 3 brutal acts. The First Punic War was a naval struggle for Sicily. Rome, inexperienced at sea, adapted quickly, building fleets and inventing the corvus to turn sea battles into infantry fights. After decades, Rome forced Carthage to surrender Sicily and pay reparations. In the Second Punic War, Hannibal led his army and elephants over the Alps, devastating Italy, but never capturing Rome. Rome's resilience and Scipio Africanus's invasion of Africa forced Hannibal home, where he was defeated at Zama. Carthage lost its empire, navy and independence. The Third Punic War was pure annihilation. Rome, fearing Carthage's recovery, sought its total destruction. The final act would be merciless. So, in 149 BC, Roman legions, driven by ambition and a thirst for dominance, landed on the shores of North Africa. This marked the beginning of the Third Punic War, a conflict that would decide the fate of Carthage. Their mission was singular and brutal: to erase Carthage from the face of the earth, to obliterate its culture, its people, and its very memory. The Romans were determined to end the Carthaginian threat once and for all. The Romans began by making a series of demands seemingly designed to humiliate and weaken Carthage. First, they demanded hostages, the sons and daughters of the Carthaginian elite, as a guarantee of good behavior. Then, in a move that signaled their true intentions, they demanded all weapons, every sword, spear, and shield within the city walls. This act would leave Carthage utterly defenseless, vulnerable to any Roman aggression. The city's once formidable fortifications would become mere decorations. Finally, in a stunning act of duplicity, they ordered the city abandoned, its inhabitants forced to relocate far inland. This was a demand Carthage could not accept, for it meant the end of their civilization, their history, and their identity. Betrayed and facing annihilation, the Carthaginians, with a spirit of defiance, chose to fight for their survival. They knew the odds were stacked against them, but they were determined to defend their home. They transformed temples into makeshift workshops, repurposing sacred spaces for the grim task of war. They melted down bronze statues, turning priceless works of art into weapons of war, a testament to their desperation and resolve. The siege of Carthage stretched on for 3 long, grueling years, testing the limits of human endurance on both sides. Carthage's massive walls, a symbol of its power and resilience, became the stage for a brutal and protracted struggle. The city's desperate defenders, outnumbered and outsupplied, held out against repeated Roman assaults, repelling wave after wave of attackers. For a time, Roman leadership faltered, plagued by internal divisions and a lack of clear strategy, but the tide began to turn when Scipio Aemilianus, a man of exceptional military talent, took command of the Roman forces. Scipio immediately imposed strict discipline on his troops, restoring order and morale to the Roman ranks. He also implemented a relentless blockade, cutting off Carthage from vital supplies and reinforcements. Displaying remarkable engineering skill, Scipio built a massive stone mole to completely cut off the harbour, preventing any ships from entering or leaving. This blockade effectively starved the city, pushing its inhabitants to the brink of desperation. Finally, in 146 BC, after years of siege and suffering, the final decisive assault began, a brutal and bloody climax to a long and bitter conflict. The Romans, fueled by years of pent-up frustration and a thirst for revenge, breached the seemingly impenetrable walls of Carthage. The fighting descended into a brutal and chaotic struggle, fought street by street, house by house. The battle raged for 6 long, agonizing days, a relentless storm of steel and fire that consumed the city. Despite facing overwhelming odds, the Carthaginians resisted fiercely, fighting to the last man in a desperate attempt to defend their homes and families. But in the end, the city's fall was inevitable, its fate sealed by Roman power and Carthaginian exhaustion. With victory in sight, Rome would show no mercy, determined to make an example of Carthage and ensure that it would never rise again. The final days of Carthage were a nightmare of fire and blood. Romans advanced through burning streets, the city choked with the dead. Survivors retreated to the citadel, where 50,000 surrendered and were enslaved. A handful refused, barricading themselves in the temple of Eshmun. When it was set ablaze, Hasdrubal surrendered, but his wife chose death over dishonor. The city was systematically plundered, then demolished stone by stone. The myth of sowing salt endures, but the reality was total erasure. Carthage was wiped from the map, its people scattered in bondage. The once great city was reduced to ruins. Rome's vengeance was absolute. Carthage ceased to exist. Roman life revolved around public duty, military service and the land. The ideal Roman was a citizen soldier, loyal to the Republic and its strict hierarchy. Rome's society valued discipline, law and monumental public works, temples, aqueducts and roads. Entertainment was brutal, reflecting their martial spirit. Carthage, by contrast, was a cosmopolitan trading hub ruled by merchant elites. Its wealth came from commerce, its defense outsourced to mercenaries. Carthaginian religion and culture were viewed with suspicion by Romans. Carthage's double harbor and towering walls showcased its naval genius. The city's dense, multi-story buildings reflected its commercial priorities. Two worlds, one built for conquest, the other for trade, collided in total war. The fall of Carthage cemented Rome as the Mediterranean's sole superpower. With its rival gone, Rome expanded unchecked, shaping the world with its laws and language. The destruction of Carthage became a symbol of Roman ruthlessness. Carthago delenda est, total annihilation. Ironically, Rome later rebuilt Carthage as a major city.